Hello everybody, I'm Jack Boucher, historian, author and educator.
And I'm Rob Lyman, also a historian and writer. Together, Jack and I are the Forgotten War podcast.
Each week we'll take you into the heart of the Burma campaign of the Second World War.
We'll take you through dripping monsoon jungles, across parched plains and over rivers and mountains, sharing the incredible and often brutal story of the war against Japan in Southeast Asia, what for our American friends was the China, Burma and India Theatre.
We're grateful to our sponsors, Guidel, the Burma Star Memorial Fund, the Kohima Educational Trust and Sampan Travel.
Welcome to the Forgotten War podcast.
So by the 5th of April, the British and Indian troops on the ridge, 4th Battalion of the Royal West Kents, the 1st Battalion, 1st Punjab Regiment, and the 4th Battalion, 7th Rajputana Rifles from the 161st Brigade, together with the men of the Assam Regiment, the latter of whom had trekked back from Jasami, 78 miles in 39 hours. And Rob, you've done that walk yourself in that time. They were cut off on the ridge by the rapidly reinforcing Japanese troops under General Sato. As they were cut off, they would have to rely on an air resupply by the Royal Air Force and the United States Army Air Force. They were continually shelled and mortared from the 6th of April, the garrison slowly driven into a smaller and smaller perimeter on Garrison Hill, which overlooked sort of the tennis court and the DC's bungalow complex. They had artillery support from the 24th Mountain Artillery Regiment, we mentioned them earlier, and they were at nearby Jatsoma Hill. But similar to how the Sangshak garrison were very short on drinking water, and the dressing stations were exposed to Japanese fire. Wounded men were hit again as they waited for treatment. Some of the heaviest fighting took place, though, around that Deputy Commissioner's bungalow in what became known as the Battle of the Tennis Court, probably one of the most famous parts of this battle. The Japanese launched a series of attacks into the northeast region of the defences on April the 8th. By April the 9th, the British and Indians there had been forced back onto just the District Commissioner's bungalow. The Japanese launched a series of attacks into the northeast region of the defences on the 8th of April, and by the 9th, the British and Indians had been forced back out of the DC's bungalow to the other side of the tennis court. The other positions came under heavy attack and the perimeter shrunk, and during the period, Lance Corporal John Harmon, the 19-year-old heir to the Lundy estate, won a posthumous Victoria Cross. On April the 13th, the troops defending near the DC's bungalow and the tennis court came under increasingly heavy artillery and mortar fire and had to repel frequent infantry assaults across the tennis court. The tennis court was effectively no man's land at this point. This area was the scene of some of the hardest, closest, and frankly grimmest fighting. Grenades being hurled across the tennis court at point-blank range. And it should be said, it's like the width of the tennis court. It's not even the length of the tennis court. On the 15th, the exhausted troops on the ridge heard that the British 2nd Division was attacking along the Dimapur-Kohima road and had broken through Japanese roadblocks. By the night of the 17th of April, the defender situation, though, was desperate.
Yeah, so could the defenders of the ridge hold out? It really was, as you suggest, Jack, touch and go.